So it was 29 years ago, actually, when we met. And I want you to tell the story about how we met, because that was the beginning. That was the first big trip, right?
I was sitting there with Jerry and Cynthia Ruth in that restaurant off of Franklin Road. And we were drinking pretty good that night. I usually don't drink that much, but Jerry was a big drinker and we were drinking. And a good bit into the evening, we were in the big room there and having a Jerry and Cynthia night. And all of a sudden, they start waving to someone who was walking across the room. And I turned around and this lovely young lady was walking across the room. And it was you. It was like a thunderbolt. And they just sort of said hi, and there was some hellos and stuff like that. And you walked on through the room and walked out. And as soon as you walked out, I turned around to them and I said, "Who was that?" So Cynthia said, "Oh," she said, "don't you know who that is? Don't you know who that is?" She said everything twice. I said, "No." And Cynthia said, "Would you like to meet her?" And I said, "Absolutely." So when your mom left the ladies' room and came back, she flagged her down and brought her over to the table and introduced her to me. Apparently Cynthia and you knew each other pretty well.
She lived on the next street.
Like she did. But anyway, that's how we met. We met. That was all there was. I was impressed with you. You were gorgeous, and you still are.
Well, then we actually had a first date a couple of weeks later, and you took me to the Sheraton for dinner, if you recall.
Yes, I do, actually. Yeah. I do recall. We were the only ones in the dining room. They had a big dining room there, and I had spoken to the guy who ran the hotel. It was one of Joel and Adolph's hotels, so I told him to put us. I wanted everything to be perfect, and they did make it that way. They went to a lot of trouble for us. We had a lovely dinner. We were the only one. There's this huge dining room. They must have 50 to 70 seats in there, and we were the only ones there.
So we had a lovely evening, right?
Yeah.
And then
they went out of their way to make us happy, and when we had the dinner, there was a good idea to have it there.
And then you took me home, and there was a memorable thing when you took me home also.
Well, I was working 7 days a week at that time, and I was working my ass off. And when I came back from Lynchburg that day, I was exhausted. And we got to Mom's house. It was her. She was getting up to go into the house. And I was so damn tired, I didn't even get out of the car. I was really tired. I mean, I didn't have any days off. I was working.
So what did I say? What did I say?
And you said, you just looked at me and said, "Well, aren't you going to walk me to the door?" And I realized that I made a big mistake. And I said, "Oh, sure." And I got up and I took you to the door.
Okay,
and
so that was
you were right to give me hell.
I know, but anyway, I did forgive you, and I still thought you were pretty cool. I thought you were very handsome, actually, very sexy and handsome. I totally did. You were 55 at the time. You were really, and you kept getting better too. That was
I was
great.
55?
Okay. I was 55 when I first met you, yeah. I was 39 and you were 55. So, anyway.
It was the luckiest day of my life.
And
looking at it in retrospect, I now know how lucky I am. She is beautiful now, and she was beautiful then. And the luckiest thing that ever happened to me was meeting her. And I have Jerry and Cynthia to thank for that. But I think that the good Lord was involved as well. It's been a great ride. Your mom has been a wonderful partner. She's amazing. I mean, we have interludes where, she gets upset with me, but she's an amazing woman.